Ian, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, you've been on in the recent past. You've been on Tucker. You've been on Chris Cuomo, and now you're hitting the mainstream, being on the Order of Man podcast. So
Yes, very mainstream.
that's right.
Um,
What other? You've been on a lot of news outlets these days for some things that, frankly, shouldn't be all that controversial. I think, but it's amazing that it is. But I commend you for standing up and making a stand, and I'm excited to talk with you about what that means today.
Thanks, man. It's certainly been a crazy couple of months, but it's there's a lot of good in it too. As much as it's kind of we shouldn't even be here and shouldn't have to do these things. I think there's a lot of interesting takeaways from it all.
Yeah, so let's explain some of this just for some background of the conversation. Like you said, this started a couple of months ago. Is that right?
Correct. This started, right as COVID hit.
Yeah,
As everybody knows, we were all asked to shut down for 2 weeks. Most businesses closed, all small businesses closed. A lot of us stayed home for 2 weeks. They were going to flatten the curve. We all remember
their
the
narrative,
the
right?
request. Yes, and at the time, just like everybody else, we didn't know what we were looking at. So we complied. It seemed credible, seemed scary, and it seemed like government had our best interest in mind. So all right, let's do it. And then 2 weeks turned into three turned into a month. A month quickly started approaching two, and instead of getting back to life after a virus with 2 weeks incubation period was supposed to slow the spread, we started to smell smoke, and it was like that smoke was the fire of these politicians not wanting to relinquish these rights that they had taken away in the interest of the greater good or public health or whatever they
Hmm.
want to whatever politically correct term they want to throw over the top of it. So we decided that either A, we were going to lose our business, because our bills were still due, and the so-called aid packages that they had were government standard. They were laughable,
Right.
um, while the good people of the country, the hardworking people of the country, the middle class, is worried about where they're going to pay their bills or where their next paycheck's going to come from or whether or not they're going to have a job or a business. They're bickering back and forth, throwing bills at each other that half the money is pork spending. And, you hear the stories of sports teams and multi-million-dollar businesses getting small business loans. And it's like, then they just tell you to just shut up and wait. And it's,
Right.
enough was enough. 6 weeks was there. Our bills were still due. My partner Frank and I are the type of guys that we've earned this. I work hard and I'm very proud of that. I have a nice little a middle class American life. Living the American dream, and I wasn't going to just have that swept away, um, because this was more than just about opening our gym and our business and us surviving. Because if we wanted to, we could have just snuck people in the back door, but the threat is that they can do this at any time. You know what I mean? And so we wanted to stand up to that. So we put out a plan, a very detailed one, 15-point safety protocol, and we announced it on my Instagram, the who, what, where, and why of what we were doing. We didn't want to blindside anybody. We let law enforcement know. We let the township know that we were opening on May 18th. And
What was
unless
the reason for you letting them know, Ian? Like, why not just open up out of curiosity?
Because it wasn't about being defiant. It wasn't about being an asshole.
Mm.
I have respect for the American institution. It's not about being an outlaw. It's about there was no plan put forth to open, and we were quickly approaching 2 months, and we took responsibility for that. We said, okay, we'll do it, and we'll present it forward. Because the idea is that government's supposed to work with the people,
Sure.
right? That's at
With
least
and for the people, right?
yeah, with and for, and it doesn't seem to be like that. It's just these dictates coming down, and you
Well,
can't get in
I
touch with these
think
people.
Yeah, I think when you say that, I think what people are going to hear sometimes, and I know there's plenty of people who believe this, that keeping businesses shut down and the directives and initiatives set forth by local and federal governments is in the best interest of the people. But what's fascinating to me, and then we'll get back into your story, is yeah, we all got the narrative of flatten the curve, and the curve was flattened, right? Mission accomplished. We did that. And so like what's the point now? And everybody's like, well, we don't want people to get COVID. Look, everybody's going to get COVID at some point.
It's the constantly changing. They're constantly changing two things. They're changing the goalposts. And then after they change the goalposts, they start changing the metrics. You know, they were first it was flatten the curve, and then somehow that's warped into wait for a vaccine. And those are two very different requests. And at the same time, first it was the death count that everybody was worried about, and then now it's about the case count. Well, I thought low deaths and high cases were a good thing. And it's like, no. Now we care more about this because this is the one that's going to keep you home. And it's like, nah, it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Because it's not government's responsibility to babysit you. It's not government's responsibility to protect your health. Now, if this thing was anything like they said, right? Because if we remember correctly, Dr. Fauci said 2.2 million people would be dead by this time. 2.2 million. We are a long way off from that. And that's not even going into the fact that those numbers are very, very, very questionable at best. That those death numbers, we've all read the news articles of people. There's no distinguish. In the beginning, there was no distinguishing between dying with COVID and dying of COVID. They are two entirely different things. So that small number, not small. I won't say small because that's I don't mean that in any disrespect to anybody who's
Just
lost anybody.
subjective or relative to what
Yes,
was
subjectively
predicted.
small.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I stress the importance of that because my business partner lost his mom to COVID during this. So this is something. This is something that is very. We understand this. But anyway, it's getting back to the idea of government working with the people. That's why we put it forward. You don't see that. You're seeing these dictates coming from down above. And this isn't kings and peasants. That's not how this system is set up. You guys are not rulers. You guys are elected leaders. There's a very big difference between the two of those. And I think that somehow they've got that a little confused, and it's so we put that plan publicly and said, hey, we're going to open up. You want to talk about it? You know where we're at. Here's our plan. Take a look at it. Come down. Check it out. We're opening. Unless you want to talk about it. If you want to talk about it and say, hey, wait, let's come down and check out the facility. Great. I would have absolutely held off. Nothing. And we went on national news about it. So it wasn't a secret.
Right.
I announced that on Tucker Carlson, so that there's no secret to that.
I like that you're talking about not it being about being defiant, because I think it'd be easy for people to look at it, people that don't agree with you specifically, to look at it and think, well, these guys are just being dicks, they're being assholes, they want everybody to die.
That's the easiest criticism that people will throw.
Of course. Yeah. And we can see that that's not the case. You had this plan laid out. You were respectful. You made it available. I mean, you obviously are very sensitive to it because your business partner's mother passed away of COVID. So this isn't just some thoughtless act that you're just trying to be defiant for the sake of being defiant.
No, not at all. And that was that was our plan moving forward. Was we're just trying to help. Because the way you guys are doing it, it's just not working. You can't stay shut down forever. It's just not that the world doesn't work like that. There's not a pause button on the global economy.
And the other thing I think we have to consider too is that the people that, generally speaking, that come to your gym and work out with you are going to be young. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be able to combat, according to the data, they're going to be able to combat being diagnosed with COVID. Like, they can handle it, right? Relative to, the older population or somebody with some medical issues or an unhealthy lifestyle. We got to be a little bit more sensitive to that than a group of people who generally are young, strong, healthy, and take care of themselves. The data is different for those two groups of people.
Yeah. And so jumping right off of that, the data is very clear and has always been very clear that regular exercise is a good thing. It's one of the criticisms that we got for opening was like, oh, you guys want to just look at your muscles and do bicep curls. And it's like, if you think that's what people come here for, you really, really, really need to just maybe step outside your little box for a little while and just open your mind just a little bit, because we have people in this gym. We have a lot of veterans in here. We have a lot of active military, police, firefighters, just regular people. This is like a local gym. And I don't know where it happened, but somewhere along the line with this, public health became a one-dimensional entity where it starts and ends with COVID, and that's not fucking public health, you know. And even with that, public health is not shelter in place, isolate yourself, stay home, sanitize the world around you, you know, put on a mask and wait for a vaccine. That is a very defensive strategy, you know, and that's not how you handle the world. You know, it's just not. It's
It
very
might be temporarily, you know. And I've heard this put
yes,
this way before.
temporarily, absolutely,
Right. That you know,
absolutely.
you look at global or even just national lockdowns, and you think, all right, well, there's a very blunt tool, and I think that's necessary when we don't have a lot of information and we're trying to figure out, okay, what the
Like in the
hell's
beginning
going
of this,
on? Right.
like in the
Now that
beginning of
we
this,
know, we can
if
start
this
being
was
a little
two
bit more
weeks,
surgical.
if this was 2 weeks, or if this was even a month, okay,
Got it.
I get it. Like sometimes there is a line where it's like, all right, you know, you don't want government to have certain powers, you know, but in certain times, in certain situations, they need to have the authority to say, all right, everybody bunker in place, like let's do this. You know what I mean? Yes. So okay, I totally agree. But now we're
And you
on
did
day,
that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then, but somehow we're now on day 143 of 14 in New Jersey.
Mm,
You know, and it's like, what happened there? What happened?
right.
And it's those moving goalposts, and it's those changing metrics, and it's that old quote. You know, politicians are really quick to take away rights, but they're very slow to give them away or give them back. You
Give
know,
them
it's
back.
we've seen that in history all over. You know, and to sit here and I could be wrong about that. You know, they could be completely benevolent in their actions, and they could be just thinking what they're doing is the right thing. Um,
Well,
but
I don't know if
they're
you've seen this or not, but in California, I believe the governor of California, or maybe not the governor, maybe the mayor
I
of
think
LA.
it's
I don't know where I'm
L.A.
from.
Mayor of L.A. I
LA.
think I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Where he's threatened to shut off
Yeah.
water and power for things that fall outside of what they deem appropriate.
Yes. Yeah. And if you don't look at that and go, what the fuck, then you really, somebody needs to splash some cold water in your face. You know,
At a
like you
minimum.
need to. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You need a wake up call, because
Yeah.
that is that that should set off the biggest red flag for anybody. I don't care who you are, what race, color, creed, you know, anything. In America, no fucking way. That's not how we do things here. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? It's crazy because not a lot of people are willing to stand up to that and
Right.
say, you know, nah, no
No,
way,
we're
we're
not
not
doing
having it.
this.
Yeah, exactly. There's a, and I wouldn't say a majority, but there's a large group of people who just yeah, okay, like, you know, it just, and don't question that, and don't at least go, really, like, we can't think of another way to do these things. It's got to be this oppressive, forceful pushing downward. Again, government like pushing down, and it's like, nah, you guys are supposed to work with us. You're supposed to be among the people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not above, because you know damn well these guys and girls are not following their own rules. They're getting caught doing it. If you're gonna put down those type of dictates, you gotta at least roll with them yourself. You know, you got Governor Murphy talking about no indoor dining. Dude eats indoors he eats out every night at a restaurant,
Right.
and
Right.
it's cool, right? No problem. You know, nah, it doesn't work like that. It's not a do as I say, not as I do kind of ruling. And anybody that is okay with that is, uh, again, you need a smack in the face. You need to wake up, because
Well,
that is the beginning signs of a world that I don't think any of us want to live in.
well, and that's the unfortunate reality is that these people who don't see this as being an issue, they will get a wake up call, but the wake up call will come way too late.
Exactly.
Where
Yeah.
they literally are in a position where they cannot do anything about it any longer. Let's go back to your story because this is important. So you guys open up, you go through the process, and then you're met with what, fines initially, threats. Like, tell me where it went from there.
All right. So quickly running through those events, we opened on May 18th. To national media attention on the front step. Pete Hegseth actually drove down from Fox News, wanted to interview us as we swung the doors open. Parking lot full of a couple hundred people, line wrapped around the building. Police presence just there to kind of protect, make sure everything went well. Awesome. It was
You say what went well for what? Went well, just like no violence, nothing like
it,
that, no
yeah, it
incident.
went off great. The crowd was awesome. They were so supportive. There were people out there, like just wanted to meet us, thank us for what we were doing.
Right.
It was the right message at the right time. People were sick and tired of these lockdowns. And it was well received. Members came in, we did our daily, business. We had about 20 people as volunteers kind of working. And at about 12 o'clock, there's a viral video that went out, and that was, excuse me, about 12 o'clock, the Belmar Police Department walked up to the front door and requested to talk to Frank and I. We walked out. There was a big crowd. The crowd was kind of upset, and I quieted them down, and I was like, let these guys speak. And the captain, now retired of the Belmar Police Department, said, I'm here to tell you that formally you're all in violation of an executive order. And he took like a pause and a long breath. And he said, on that note, have a nice day. He turned around and walked away, and the crowd just kind of erupts. And it was
Wow,
like
I
this
remember seeing
moment.
that video.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony was there. So he came down to visit like a lot of people did. And it was just this
That's
awesome
cool.
moment where
Is this part of the reason this police chief then retired? Is
I'm pretty
this
sure he was on his way out the door anyway, but that
okay?
from everybody I talked to, that's who he was. You know
Right.
what I mean? He wasn't listening to stuff that he didn't agree with, that he knew was wrong, and he
Which I
knew
actually
that.
think more law enforcement officials and officers ought to, think about doing that. I again, to go back to LA, it's like if you guys start to enforce this, you're only going to create more problems, more contention between law enforcement and the
And
public,
they got it.
and it's
They
going
got
to
it
get way
bad enough.
worse.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh,
and
no
it's
doubt.
there's a part of me that feels like that's actually by design, that they put these cops in these bad positions. And my heart actually goes out to them. Like, we got probably 15% of our members are law enforcement or families of law enforcement. Half the Belmar Police Department works out here, or at least did before COVID. They're not allowed to. And these men and women are put in a really tough position because
No doubt.
a lot of them have 10, 20, years in, a pension on the line, and if they step out of line, like, you don't know what these politicians are going to do. I mean, they're threatening my business with a $15,000 a day fine.
Is
They're
that what it is?
looking.
I saw
Yeah,
10,000 last
it
time. So
just got
does it
it got
continues to
jumped
go
up.
up?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
need like a you need one of those most wanted posters, where it says like what it finally gets to, and you're proud based on how much it finally gets to.
Yeah, it's insane, and that's even insane. And we'll touch on that. But so that day, we got some citations a little bit later because Governor Murphy threatened the Belmar Police Department that he was going to furlough them and use the county police for 60 days if they didn't, come down on us.
Enforce these, yeah.
Yep. So we got some bullshit tickets. The next day we opened, we got more bullshit tickets. They started citing our members with bullshit tickets. They actually arrested one of our members, looked really bad for him, blew up in their face. Wednesday we opened again. They put a camera in the parking lot, mailed us our tickets because we kept accepting them on the front step in front of the media, and they didn't really like that.
Yeah,
So they started mailing them, and then they were pulling people over down the street with the camera system they had set up in the parking lot and giving them tickets there instead of in front of the media.
what were the tickets they were issuing
Violations of an executive order, which
for
is like
these
some
people
like,
who were coming to your gym?
yes, and us
Wow.
too, and we got some
Yeah,
other
right.
ones too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So from there, Wednesday night or Wednesday during a press conference, Governor Murphy was addressing us, and he said that he was going to use the health department on us. So he had already weaponized the police force. Then he went and he openly said he was going to weaponize the health department against us. And that night, in the middle of the night, we got a notice of embargo slapped on the door, which was a closure notice. And it was basically, you're closed because coronavirus. Keep in mind, no health department official at that point had ever stepped in our door or contacted us. It was just slap a sticker
This
on the
is
door. It was his will via the health department instead of via executive order via the police department, because he knew that he didn't have a right. If he arrested us, it would have been a wrongful arrest.
Do you know,
Because
Ian,
he
of
didn't
other
break laws.
gyms? Do you know of other gyms either in your area or in your state that had reopened that were doing similar things to you that weren't getting the same attention or these same types of fines, or do you feel like that was applied
No,
evenly and broadly?
nobody's gotten the punishment we've gotten.
So
People
why
have
you
opened,
guys?
because I think Governor Murphy's got an ego issue. I think that we
Hmm.
stepped up and he saw it as a challenge, and it wasn't. Like I said, if it was a challenge, I would have just opened up,
Right.
but it was an invitation, but I think he took it as a challenge. Because if you look at, Frank and I read every word of every executive order. We watch every second of his press conferences. We do the research. This is our life. We literally live at the gym. There's an air mattress right over here. And there's one in the other room. So if you just read the wording in some of his executive orders, you can tell it's clearly against us. I mean, in our state, we have strip clubs open, tattoo parlors open, mixed martial arts, dance, and gymnastics are open. And the funny part about those in that executive order, it comes down to the licensing. So as long as you are licensed and insured as a fitness studio, then you are allowed to open. If you are licensed and insured as a gym or a health club, because you as a mixed martial arts place or a dance place, you could do either. Licensing as a health club is more expensive. It's better insurance. So a lot of places, they don't need that insurance. They just go with the fitness studio stuff. But gyms can't have the other gyms can't go the other way. Gyms, it's health club only. So long as you are not licensed as a health club or a gym, you can open. If you're licensed as a health club or a gym and you own a jiu-jitsu academy, you cannot open. Like, it's
what's the reasoning? Like, there's gotta be something.
There is not.
Explained.
No, nothing.
Really?
Nothing.
Wow.
And he uses, he always says when he gets questioned about gyms, we're not there yet. We make our decisions off science and data. We make our decisions off science and data. He always says that, we're guided by science, but they're always these conclusionary statements. We're not there yet on gyms. They're high risk because of respiration. And it's like, all right, well, show us the science.
Yeah, I mean, science has become the new quote unquote my truth, which there isn't a my truth. There's
good
truth
science
or your
and bad
opinion.
science. Yes.
But that's what people say is like, we go by science. Well, show me. Well, that's not really science.
No.
If it's subjective, it's not really science.
Yeah, like not all science is created equal. You know what I mean? There just like not all writing is created equal. You can write an essay and I can write an essay and yours will be fantastic and mine's shit. It doesn't mean they're both, So we have asked over and over again, where's the science? Where's the science? Because we, as gym owners and as the gym industry, we have science. There's conclusive stuff and very up-to-date stuff, very COVID relevant studies that are out. One of the criticisms was, everybody's touching everything, right? That was their first, again, talking about moving goalposts, why gyms can't open. Oh, everybody's touching everything. Okay, well, the science comes out that it doesn't stick on surfaces nearly as long and almost not at all. The science shows that it
Yeah, I remember initially. Yeah, I remember initially they were talking about, you'd be careful of getting, an Amazon package or a letter in the mail.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And which is long since been debunked. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Debunked. Okay, so next goalpost. They say it's heavy. What's the next one? Heavy breathing, right? So, asymptomatic. I'm sorry, was the one. Oh, if you're asymptomatic, you're going to put everybody at risk. You could be totally fine. Do it for others. Okay, fine. Let's see the science. Well, there's the most updated study. I think it's PubMed.gov. This one is 450, and you can just Google this stuff. 455 people were exposed to a COVID positive asymptomatic person for a period of 5 days. And of that 455 people, you had people of all different, sort of on the health spectrum. You had some high risk, some diabetic, obese, in shape.
Right.
Results of that study, not a single person contracted COVID.
Wow.
Not a single,
really? I haven't seen
person.
that. I haven't heard of that. So
yeah. You could just type that in. I think it's PubMed, but just search asymptomatic 455, I think was the number.
Okay.
But anyway, okay, so, and that's not saying it, it's 100% guaranteed, but that's a pretty low percentage. You know what I mean? I'm sure some asymptomatic people may, but you guys were saying that asymptomatic people were just breathing COVID on everybody,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's debunked. And then it's the next thing. Oh, well, we don't have proper ventilation in gyms and it's too much. Well, you know, guess what? It falls straight to the ground when it comes out of your mouth. Oh, it's wear masks, you know, and then it's just these constantly moving goalposts. And every time, again, coming out of Oslo, opened up their gyms in the city of Oslo.
Is that near you guys? I don't know exactly where that is.
Oslo, it's either Sweden or Norway. Oslo, Norway.
I'm sorry. I was thinking, I'm sorry. I was thinking near you guys,
yes,
like in some areas near you.
So the city of Oslo in Norway opened up, I think it was like 7 gyms or something, and they did a study, and the conclusions of the study, you can type in the Oslo gym study, that'll come up, was that not only was the percentage of people who were gym goers, you know, the control group that was in the gyms, not only was that percentage of infection lower, but when they opened up the gyms in the entire country as a result of those studies, the general infection rate went down. And it's like, I'm not a doctor, but that seems pretty fucking straightforward to me. You know what I mean? It's like, but we're told like, oh, you know, you're fragile, you got to stay inside and this and that. But nobody actually puts forth any good plans about public health. You know, we should be encouraging people to eat better. We should be encouraging people to get outside and exercise. To socialize. You know, you can't tell me that there's not detrimental effects on your mental health and thus your physical health, because they are connected, when you're socially isolated for long periods of time, and when you've been staring at a screen watching Netflix for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or now 143 days. You know, there's a lot of collateral damage that they don't care about. And that's health-wise, financial-wise, you know, relationship-wise.
Freedom,
you know, exactly. You're causing too much damage for not enough of a threat. So anyway, back to the timeline of events. Eventually that week, we kept opening. Friday, we got a court order from the judge, which is Judge Robert Lugie. He is a previous attorney general for the state of New Jersey, and he is Murphy's kind of right-hand man, just signs right off on whatever he wants. So now there was a court order for us to shut down. And they actually came and physically changed our locks us out of the building. We fought it. 3 weeks later, we got back open. We were pulling 45,000 pounds worth of equipment outside every day. And back inside.
Wow. Letting people work out there in the parking lot?
Letting people work out there in the parking lot just to kind of keep the ball rolling. We were having about 300 people a day come through. It was fucking 95 degrees out. You know, we were destroying the equipment. We were destroying our matting, dragging all the stuff. So on 4th of July, we said, fuck it. You know, come arrest us on Independence Day. We're done with this. You know what I mean? Because again, at that point, we're coming up on month 4.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know, no, this is, and meanwhile, we're seeing all these other places open up. You can do jujitsu, you can do all this other stuff. You can go down the street to a strip club. You can literally go anywhere in the state of New Jersey except a gym or a movie theater or indoor dining. You know, we're left. And what's happening is you're going to crush the entire industry. You know, show me even a big business. Show me a multi-million or billion-dollar corporation that can survive without any revenue while paying its bills for 5 months.
Right.
I'll wait. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, it can happen.
But meanwhile, you know, Murphy, the, you know, $600 million man or whatever he's worth, as he flies around in his helicopter, just tells you to be patient. And it's like, nah, I'm not going to be patient. You know what I mean? Like I gave you more than enough time already. You know, at this point, you're threatening my well-being, the well-being of my family, and the well-being of, in my opinion, the entire state. So we continue to stay open, and we finally got held in contempt of court. We beat one of them on a technicality. They threw it right back at us. Murphy gets his court dates overnight. When he files in court, he gets it the next day via Robert Lugie. We filed in court 3 different times and have not even spoken to a judge yet. So just kind of, again, showing you the hypocrisy and the BS and all this. We've had judges abstain from hearing the case because it's too controversial, you know, and it's like,
This is like what you actually need to do. This is your job.
Well, you nailed it. You know, I'm pretty sure anybody else or most other jobs, when you show up to your job and don't do your job, you get fired.
Right.
You know,
I don't want to do anything hard today. Can you make it as easy as possible? No controversy.
Yeah, like, you know, exactly.
Risk. Yeah. Craziness.
If you didn't want to make controversial decisions, you shouldn't have been a judge. You should have
Wrong
been
industry.
You should have been a fucking roofer or whatever. You know what I
Serve
mean? Like,
ice cream to little kids or
dude,
something,
you
you
do
know?
whatever. Yeah, be a writer. I don't know. But
Right.
your judge, your job as a judge is to make difficult decisions, and you're walking away from that. You know,
Yeah.
you're failing the institution that you swore an oath to protect. You know, so at that point, you know, that's where you get this attitude where it's like, you know what, we're open, and we're not closing. You know,
Mm.
and it doesn't matter what you do to us because we're playing with a loaded deck here. We tried to put faith into the system, and the system has failed us on every level now, except the legislative. You know, on the executive level, failed. On the local level, failed. We've had the police force weaponized against us. We've had the health department weaponized us. The judicial system has failed us, and it's like, so that's where we're at. At this point, we finally got held in contempt of court. They threatened to come take the locks again, and this time, just about a week and a half ago, Frank and I started sleeping in the building.
Yep, I remember that.
We pulled the locks, or we pulled the doors off of the hinges so that they couldn't lock them, and we opened the gym 24 hours a day. We slept in shifts, and we said, "We're not leaving. We're not leaving. We're not shutting down. You're not gonna take this from us." And it's every step of the way. You see how much more determined they are to crush you, and
Right.
it's becoming this situation where, go ahead, keep it up. I'll take all the punches you got, because every time you do something punitive, you lose more people who thought that you were doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because again, here we are 143 days in and 76 days since we originally reopened, and you have still not reached out to even come check it out. Come check out the facility. I promise you, we do more than any small business in the state and in the country. We do more than what hospitals do. We have a fucking biometric face scanner at the door.
Really?
You know, so that you walk in and it takes your temperature. It doesn't
Right, sure.
save the picture or anything. It takes your
Right.
temperature. The entire system walking in is touchless. You know, we have a comprehensive safety protocol. We have a
I mean, you
fucking
don't even have doors on anymore, so like people aren't even touching the door handles. So
yeah, it's but it's laughable how far above and beyond we've gone. And then it's like, oh, but Walmart's allowed to be open because you slap a piece of cloth over your face and wipe the cart before you walk in,
right,
and
right.
that's public health. And it's like, nah, like it every day it goes on, it gets more absurd. And I think that's where we're
So
at
we're
with this point.
yeah, so you guys you got arrested. You and Frank, it sounds like you were arrested. Is that right?
Yes, after I don't know, being inside for 5 days or so, they popped in Monday morning, and took us down, booked us, hit us with three more charges, which brings our total up to 24, 24 charges altogether, 12 each.
And now
Um,
they're threatening $15,000 a day for every day you stay open. Like, where do you see this going? Like, what's the objective for you? And then where do you see this going and how it actually plays out?
so yeah, they arrested us, then they boarded up our doors, then we kicked them
Saw that, right?
back up in operation. Now, three things are happening. Governor Murphy is requesting that he requested a $10,000 a day fine. Um, and what's funny about that one is he shows his hand as to why he picked that number, because that number is not indicative of like our revenue, right? You know what I mean? Like say a business is operating the way it's not supposed to be, so the government has to fine them, right? They don't
Mm.
fine them like just arbitrarily. That
Some
number is
arbitrary
based,
number,
yeah,
right?
it's based off of something. He says or they say, the attorney general, fining $10,000 a day, and the reasoning is because we have more than enough money in our GoFundMe to pay that. So
Oh, so they're looking at what
that's
they
our
can fund.
that's our legal fund. So you're
Jeez.
openly admitting at this point that you're trying to cripple us.
And target you.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's laughable. Like, it's like, man, like you got a lot of balls because you just think you're untouchable. And it's you look at it, and there's, at that point, the fight or flight kicks in, and it's like, man, I'm standing my ground. Like, you think you're gonna get away with this? Like, not today, not me. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna push me around like that. Nobody is. Nobody. And so that $10,000 fine got raised the other day up to 15. That's still not been decided yet by a judge, but the same judge who is deciding it is the same judge who has decided everything along the way.
Right.
um,
Sure.
you know,
Jeez.
he's probably sitting in his underwear, during these Zoom conferences and just, doodling on a paper as our lawyers plead the case. Um,
Or taking a look at your GoFundMe account and
yeah,
deciding, how much he can raise this to.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So he's also asking that we be in prison for long term. So looking for like 6 months or more to actually arrest us. And on um, Tuesday of this upcoming week at 5 o'clock, we'll be in front of the Belmar municipality. They're going to try to revoke our mercantile license. So we have to go in front of 6 council members and the mayor in a very left-leaning town. At least a left-leaning in terms of their elected officials,
Sure.
and plead our case so that they don't take our business license. So the end game, to answer the question you actually asked, this is it's funny. It's straight out of like a book. This is your typical big guy versus little guy fight. Your
Mm-hmm.
David and Goliath. It's these people know that if you make it to round 12, you're gonna knock them the fuck out because they know what they're doing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But what they'll do is they will try to crush you every step along the way. They're going to try to throw me in jail. You're going to try to, financially cripple me. You're going to take my business license away. What else are you going to do? You're going to do all these things because you're wrong. And you're wrong because you haven't approached us. You haven't tried to mitigate. You've only tried to come down with these punitive measures. And you keep on ratcheting them up and flexing your muscles, flexing your tyrant muscles. And it's like, you look bad because we're not bad guys. We're not.
Right. Right.
We just want to work. We're not. We're not out causing destruction. We've had after today, we'll have over 16,000 visits to the facility. We have our own contact tracing system. Part of the check-in process is we register every
Right.
single
Names,
check-in,
phone numbers, all that
name.
stuff.
You fill out a health questionnaire. Name, date, you answer a couple questions regarding some general questions, COVID health, same thing you would do in the hospital. We take your temperature. It's signed, dated, and timestamped. So we know each day how many people visited the facility, when they were in here, when they were out of here. And to date, we haven't even tabulated May. So this is just from our second reopening. From June 16th forward, after today, we'll have 16,000 visits to this facility. And not a
Wow.
single case of COVID has been reported.
Is
So
that right? Oh my goodness.
that is right. That is a
Yeah.
fact. And that's something that we take this seriously. We're not just some idiots. The people who are acting out of pocket right now are the people who call themselves our leaders, but who are acting more like our rulers. Because we've obviously put forth a good plan, and it's like, how much longer are you going to wait to want to talk about that? Because the whole rest of the world is talking about it. The whole rest of the country is talking about it. But you don't want to come to us and talk about it.
Yeah, and I
And
feel like from my perspective, the longer you do this, the like you said, that 12th round, and the more people see what your governor's doing, what the elected officials are doing, it disenfranchises them from those
yeah,
individuals and wins them over to what it is you are trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish.
yeah, there's a lot of people who initially didn't agree with us. They didn't necessarily understand. I wouldn't go so far as to say that they were wrong for feeling that way, but we've had, at this point, hundreds of people contact us and say, hey, I thought you guys were fucking assholes at the beginning of this, but like now
Mm,
that I've been following the story and like seeing that everything else is open, again, there's no evidence that our gym is any more dangerous than walking into a Walmart. But
yeah, maybe
nobody,
even less so based on what you're talking about.
yes, yeah, exactly. And there's evidence that proves, otherwise.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the longer it goes on, you have people coming and saying, you know what, I'm behind you guys. I thought you were
Mm,
doing this for attention in the beginning, or I thought that you guys were being reckless, or I thought that you were selfish. And I look at it now and I want to become a member. You know what I mean?
mm.
It's like, or I want to donate, or I share your story, or I want to buy a t-shirt. I support you guys. I stand with you. So the longer it goes on, like we're prepared to go 12 rounds. Yeah, you asked the question and I finally answered it. We're prepared to see it all the way through. I'm not afraid of whatever you threaten me with. And I think that that's a huge takeaway that people need to realize is these people operate off of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a smoke and mirrors kind of thing, because once you stand up to it, you see that they're, I mean, what are you gonna do? You want to turn me into a martyr? You want to throw me in jail? I mean, because do it. The whole world is watching now.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Everybody's eyeballs are on it for
The
sure.
whole world is watching. So go ahead. If you want to make me a martyr, make me a martyr. I don't want to be a martyr. I just kind of want to go to work and get back to my normal life.
You want to live your life, man. Lead your
Yeah,
family, lead your community, run
exactly.
your business. Right.
I don't consider myself, I'm certainly not a saint, but I'm not a bad dude. I'm not a criminal. But you want to make me one? Go ahead. Go ahead, because history will prove me right and prove you wrong. If I say that with the utmost conviction, because I know that what Frank and I are doing is right.
What's your call to us who are listening? Whether that's a call for help from us to be able to support and stand up, whatever. What is your message to us?
To the big one is not be afraid to question these things and to really stand up, especially when the evidence is pretty strong. I think a lot of us have this gut feeling that this deep down, none of this is sitting very well with any of us. So it's about standing up for what you believe in, and don't be afraid. And that can be anything. It doesn't have to be opening your business. It can be whatever. Stand firm in what you believe in. And as far as ways to help, there's a ton of ways to help. One of the biggest ways that I make sure I tell everybody is in a non-financial way. Because it's not all about money. The biggest thing that I think has helped us, and that's not the money, has been just the attention.
Right.
The fact that people are listening and people are watching, because it holds the politicians accountable. If nobody was watching and the first day they just came and smashed us, that would it. Then there would be no story. There would be no fight. But because when we opened our doors, Pete Hegseth drove down from New York to come interview us, and the whole world saw it, or the whole country saw it. It gives us the ability to fight, because it gives us the ability to tell our side of the story to somebody
Mm-hmm.
other than a judge. You know
Right.
what I mean? The public, and that's a takeaway. The public is very strong. Together, we're much stronger than I think on an individual level we really realize. So just something as simple as sharing the story. You see an update about it. Follow me on social media, on either my Instagram, Ian Smith Fitness, or the Attila's Gym one, which is Attila's Gym Belmar. There's a Facebook too. So just sharing it, it's incredibly powerful, because the more people that see this, the more people get upset by it, and the more support we garner. And that is more important than anything, I think. But there is a GoFundMe set up. The link to that is on my Instagram. You can just Google it, Attila's Gym Court Relief. And just, in other ways, if you own a small business, start putting together a plan. Don't just open your doors recklessly. But I'm sure if you have a small business and you're not open yet, or they're doing these second rounds of lockdowns in places like California and stuff like that, you got to resist it. The gyms out in California are getting, they're being forced to move all their equipment outside, and these were open. You know what I mean? So you gotta stand up against this stuff, and there's a million ways to do it. If you don't own a small business, support small business.
Support them. Yeah.
Shop, and it's not even ones that are just open, or ones that are opening that aren't supposed to be. The ones that are open, support them. Stop shopping at Walmart. Stop doing all your shopping on Amazon. Go to we got a local grocery store that's like a Brazilian meat market by my house, and it's locally owned. Every chance I get, if I'm grabbing something on the way home, to cook for dinner, I'll go there. You know what I mean? Because what's happening is all these small businesses that are affected by this, this is talking about the collateral damage. All the businesses that are affected by this and go out of business, that's money that stays in the community. When you lose these businesses in that community and people start shopping elsewhere, that money never returns back into your community. It goes to some mega billion-dollar corporation. And I think that might be one of the biggest casualties on the other side of all this, is that if this goes on too long, small businesses are going to exist, and we're going to all be shopping at Walmart, and it's going to
Right.
be something from this future where there's 3 stores and 12 corporations in the whole country, and I don't think that we want to go down that path.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree.
and that's it,
Um,
man. And don't ever doubt how much of an impact you can have as an individual. If you would have asked me 6 months ago, if you thought that I would be where we're at today and making as much of an impact as we are, I would have laughed, because never in a million years did I ever think. But the fight came to us, and we stood up for it. And it's gone a hell of a lot further than I realized it ever would. And it's as hard as it's been. It's you give me 1,000 chances to redo this, and I would make the same exact choice every time. So
it's good to know. Yeah, well, that's a big reason. We run around in similar circles, and I think we have some mutual friends. I see your Lions Not Sheep hat.
yeah, my boy.
Sean's a friend of mine. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's a big reason I wanted to have you on. Is I wanted you to be able to share your message and bring some light to what we're doing here, or what you're doing here, and then letting the guys know that you have an obligation and responsibility to stand up when you see things that aren't going right. And the other thing I appreciate about what you're doing is it doesn't seem to me that you're being reckless. If you were just a bunch of assholes and, like you said, just being defiant, and I don't know that I would have wanted to have this conversation. But what I saw is an intelligent approach to standing up against what you see as an injustice, and that's what I really, really appreciate about what you bring to the table.
I appreciate that, and I think you said that really well. That it is our responsibility, as men, especially, but just as citizens in general. If you like the life you live, sometimes you got to stand up and defend it. And that doesn't always mean violence. That
Right.
you can defend it in many ways, and that's just about standing up for what's right. And that's usually an easy distinction between what's right and what's wrong. And I think that that's going on right now. And it is our responsibility, because
Yeah.
if we don't, then we're part of the issue. I think it is.
Definitely. Well, Ian, keep up the good fight. We'll keep supporting you. I'll make sure I sync up everything so the guys know where to go if they want to support or learn more about what you're
Cool.
doing and how
Thank you.
they can engage in this battle with you. Like I said, keep it up, man. We need more men like you, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I know it's difficult for you and the people around you, but you're doing a good thing, and so keep going, man.
Thank you. And thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet, brother.